It's evening time, even though the sun's still shining bright. Here on the East Coast, I'm on the west coast of Florida, but this is considered the East Coast. How y'all doing? Did you have a good 4th of July weekend? I know it was hot down here, but a lot of people was out. Yes, they were. I'm taking these damn things off right now. I don't need them. You can all hear me, can't you? If you can't hear me, say something. I'm here. Molly the cat's here. I don't know if you can you see her laying back there in the corner? You can see her white paws, right? How do I point? She's right down there. There's Molly right there. That's Molly. Oh, we got a lot of people. A big crowd starting out tonight, as always. What is this, Power Toy? Stop it. I had to use an app. I had some pictures I was going to show you, and I had a big folder of them. And naturally, Windows 11 had nothing. Repeat, nothing that would batch resize. I couldn't select all the pictures, like all 20 of them, and resize them. I had to do them individually, and I didn't have time. So I had to download an app from Microsoft and get it to do that. Anyhow, let's see who's all here. We got a lot of people coming in, and we're off and running. First off, Sherry Keller, the first one in. Hello and welcome. Melissa Jennifer Jones, hello. Good to see you, doll. Scott Nickerson, how you doing, my friend? I see that smiling face you got on there now. I like that. I like that a whole lot. Did you get down to... You're supposed to be going down to Key West to play. Did you already do that, or did you come back? Let me know. I'm nosy. I like to know everything. MG Cole, greetings to you too, my friend. Good to see you. And there's Florida Man. Yes, Florida Man. We're going to talk about Florida weather and your weather and everybody's weather. And I got a couple of different things to talk about tonight. One of them is going to be Jamaica. You guys want to talk about Jamaica a little bit? I can tell you a whole lot about that place. And the music and the people and the parties. Good evening. Happy Sunday, Doc. Great hot. Oh, it's a hot weekend. You're darn right, Michael Chewing. Good to see you. Thanks for stopping in. Yeah, I heard you're going through some wildfires up there. We had our share down here. Oh, the drought was a couple months ago, and they was all over the place down here, burning everything up. They finally got them stopped, though. Jerry McCoy. Yeah, I agree totally. But I needed it. I got it on there. I still haven't even, I just used it for what I needed it for and then got away from it. Brian Boyle. Hey, good to see you. Okay. Florida Man says, hey, Sherry. There's Marty Martin. Hi, Marty Martin. Good to see you. October. Oh, man, that's a long time to wait. That's a long time. That's a long time to be hanging around. You know, I haven't been down to the Keys in a while. I'd like to sometime. Maybe. I'm really, really tied up right now with all this recording and songs and things like that. But I'll see how far I get. You never know. I've always wanted to go in October and go up to Mississippi up there during on October 20th, the anniversary of the plane crash of Leonard Skinner. And I kind of wanted to go up there, but I don't usually go anywhere because of hurricanes. But, you know, Key West, I can get down there, you know, I don't know, depending on, you know how traffic is around here. But it's not that far of a drive. Jamaica? Oh, man, I got all kinds of pictures of Jamaica. I'll show you some here in a minute. I got them all. Everybody saying hi. There's Jeffro. Man, we got a slew of people in here. Well, yep, R.I.P. to Skinner, that's for sure. I tell you what, we could. Oh, here's another Kenna. Hey, man, you're just popping up. You guys are all over the place tonight. I tell you what, it was a wild weekend down here along the coast. I don't know how many people we had died down here in the water. We lost one girl to an alligator. I think we had 3 alligator attacks. We had people turned over in boats by a water spout. We lost a little 3-year-old boy in the ocean. 3 years old. I guess he got away from his parents. I have no clue. You know, it's hard to judge. You never know what goes on with stuff like that. And we lost a scuba diver this morning off the beach at Treasure Island. So it was a wild weekend, and it was hot. I just looked outside. How was it in your area for 4th of July? It was hot down here. Very, very hot. Very hot. Very hot. Oh, also something, a lot of you guys here that likes guitars, I have another guitar. I picked up a good deal this weekend. I'll show it to you in just a minute. Because I really don't have nothing planned to talk about. We can talk just about whatever y'all want to. Like I said, if you want to, I'll take you on a trip to Jamaica and show you a few things. I got some of my pictures out. I was looking for something. I had to find that song I wrote about the Rum Queen. I had to find the girl that I wrote it about, and I want to show her to you. I think you guys might want to see her. And maybe you girls too. 100 in Dallas. There you go. Man, that's up there. What part of Wyoming you in, Sherry? I used to play in Wyoming. I played in Casper and Cheyenne both. Are you familiar with any country bands up that way? Let me know. Yeah, and I bet you are, because I used to go right through Colorado to get there, coming from St. Louis. We'd go right to Colorado, go to Denver, and turn north and head up to Cheyenne. Oh, bummer. I just got a few friends that's still up there. I got a guy that wrote a song that's up there, and he used to play. I haven't heard from him in years, but back in the late 80s and early 90s, we used to cross paths when we was out of town, like out on the road like that. Wyoming, yeah. Wyoming's a beautiful state. I loved it up there. I just didn't like it in the wintertime. Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, well, I've went that way too, through Nebraska. We used to play in a town called Grand Island, Nebraska, and then we'd go over to Casper and Cheyenne and play. I'd have to look. It's been a long time. Long time. Omaha. Yeah, my son's up in Sioux City, Iowa, and South Dakota, which is just, I think that's a little north of Omaha. What we got in Texas, it was hotter than a fox in a forest fire, as RVZ used to say. Yeah, it sure was hot here. In between Casper and Cheyenne. There you go. I used to make that trip frequently. It was fun during the summer, but man, in the wintertime, I hated them roads. I hated them roads in the wintertime. It was cold. Lord, and the snow and black ice and everything else. Oh, I don't know about that. The weather's the weather. It happens. What's the saying? Shit happens. Yeah, it's going to be a hot one this year. You know, water temperature's up. I don't know about how hurricane season's going to go. I'm not really too concerned about it, but right now that dust comes in from off of Africa, the Saharan dust, and it comes right across the Atlantic Ocean, get down here in Florida, and it'll make it kind of hazy down here, but it also stops, it gets in them hurricanes and shuts them down pretty quick. They can't get formed under them. You know, we used to drive up there. We used to take a motorhome, and then we ended up getting a 1-ton dually pickup. And I've seen times, we come into Cheyenne one time, and they was closing the gates on the highways behind us, and we was pushing snow with the bumper of that, trying to get through there. It was a mess, man. I was young, though. Nothing scared me. Hornback, my good friend, how you doing? I'm doing just fine. I'm doing fine. I hope you're doing well, too. All right, whatever, Florida, man. You know, I don't get too much into conspiracy theories, but whatever. It's cool. Anyhow, yeah, pretty much. I just ran across it today. Here, I'll put another one up. We can feel real old. Get off the weather. How's this? You want to feel old today? Bonanza premiered 64 years ago. The Beatles split 54 years ago. Laugh-In premiered 56 years ago. The Wizard of Oz is 84 years old. Elvis is dead 46 years. Boy, this thing must be old too, because Elvis has been dead. Elvis died in 77, so it'll be 50 years. This thing's behind the time too, so it's even older than this. Am I correct? Elvis has been dead 49 years this August, if my memory serves correct. So he'd have been 90. He'd be 91 in January, or 90. So these are about 2 years off. Mickey Mantle retired 55 years ago. Back to the Future would be over 40 years old. Saturday Night Fever, 46, so it'll be 48 years old. Brady Bunch premiered 54 years ago, so it'll be 56 years ago. Tabitha from Bewitched is over 60. She's getting ready to get up there in Social Security. And the Mustang is over 60 years old. Amazing. Don't know here. But anyway, you guys want to see that guitar I bought? I'll get it out real quick. Get this over with, and then we'll talk about some little things. I hope you guys can see the color of this one. This is the coolest color. It's not butterscotch. It's a little darker. I mean, it's true butterscotch. You know, the old Telecasters, the 52s, I don't think they was this dark. But this one's pretty cool. Now, it didn't have a... Peg head's clean. There's no decal on it yet. But I can put something on there if I want to. But you can see I played it a little bit. It hadn't been played. I bought it off a guy. He bought it for something, for someone, and they didn't want it. think it's a cool looking telly though. I got to do some work on it. It needs a little bit of work. You probably can't see it here, but the nut is cut cockeyed in the neck. And I don't know. It seems to tune and play okay. I'm going to take it to a guitar friend of mine. It does work, and have him look at it. And the little fin that holds the strings down, that's not in the right place. That needs to be down in this area. But that's what happens. Now, on the back of the guitar right there, I don't know if you can see it, if I can get it, but it says Fender Corona, California. But I can tell you right now, this comes somewhere from China. I'm 99.9% positive. But it's a pretty cool guitar. I like it. Here's Molly. Molly freaked out. I know, you don't like guitars, do you? Oh, what? Say something. Say something, fatso. Fat belly. I'm going to put her back to her spot. You want some treats? You can watch Molly eat if you want. No, you can't see her. She's in behind me. Let me go there. Still can't see her. The light don't hit. The lights ain't going back there. But that's a guitar. Oh, hey, Kenny. Good to see you. Ken's Woodworking. Good to see you, buddy. You did find it, didn't you? Oh, yeah. Telecasters are great, man. They're one of the... You can play anything on them. Anything you want. Any kind of music. From rock and roll to metal to jazz to blues to country to southern rock. Telecaster will play everything. I got another one around here, too. I got a James Burton model that's got 3 pickups. But I've always wanted one with just 2. And I haven't had one in a long time. I think so. But I will tell you this. I was the owner of a 64 Telecaster. And I pretty much sold it and put the money back. And it's still making me money, in one of my accounts. And this guitar right here, it's very real, and I can make it sound just like that one, and you couldn't tell the difference. I play guitars on recordings and stuff. Why would I want to keep a guitar that's worth $20,000 and play it when I can put it away and I can buy it? I bought this one for $100, really. That's what I got into it. And I can play it on a recording here if I can get my fingers to work. You know how my fingers are nowadays, guys. And I can make it sound very... Well, let's put it this way. You wouldn't know which guitar's which. You couldn't tell the difference. So, that's the way I kind of feel about it. Yep, that was Molly. She's back there, being her typical cranky self. Hey, there we go. There's Dwayne's new lady. Hey, what's up? She's okay with them. She just don't like noises. Sometimes it bums her out. Oh, yeah. A lot of guitar players play Telecasters. Do I like Esquires? I think we all do. I just don't think we can afford them. And like I said, nowadays you can go online and buy pickups and bridges and everything and put one together and make it sound just like it, without having to worry about somebody stealing it, burning in a house fire or something, and you lose yourself $40,000 or $50,000. Rails are nice. I always like them Joe Barden pickups. If you learn to control them, they got a good sound to them. Yeah, I got a James Burton Paisley print here. I sure do. Have no clue. Terry Katz could get sounds. He could, he played quite a few different guitars. Like I said, it's just, it's hard to tell sounds. That's what I'm saying. You can't tell tones. You can't tell on recordings and stuff. You really can't tell what guitars are being played and things like that. There was a big thing going on about the Lynyrd Skynyrd songs. I know a little. Steve Gaines wrote that, and he says he played that on his Black Beauty, his Les Paul, and if you listen to it, it sounds like a Fender. So you never know what people do, things like that. Going Up the Country. Yes, sir. Good song, Canned Heat. Their lead singer just passed away, or not just passed away, had a anniversary of his death or something. I seen it on Facebook. It was Canned Heat, yep. What wouldn't you take? I didn't catch it. I probably missed it. The comments are flying by real quick now, guys. I'm having trouble keeping up. I'm having trouble keeping up. All right. Let's see. So, yeah, we'll talk a little bit more. You want to talk about Canned Heat? Yeah, Canned Heat. I never got to see them live. They're great, though. I like their music. Oh, yeah. Well, it comes with the territory. Nobody shuts down Father Time. How did I celebrate the 4th? Working right here in my studio. Headphones on, kept the fireworks down. If I would get your guitars you made. Oh no, they're cool. I like mine. They sound, they do the job. Let's put it this way. They're really basically nothing but a tool. The guitars I cared anything about, I sold. And that was an 82 Custom, a 76 Firebird, and a 64 Telly. And I had them for quite a while. But they look a lot better in my Ira than they do sitting around the house with me. I wouldn't take them out because I was always scared of somebody stealing them. Well, an airplane hangar in 73. Oh, good Lord. Canada's 159. Wow. 159 years old. The anniversary of his death, yeah. Yeah, I've always been fond of Tellys, although I was a Gibson man for years. I played more Gibson than I did. I had a couple of Strats, and I actually got rid of them. I didn't keep them around long. I used to think they was better than Tellys in a way because you could go to that middle pickup and mellow them out a little bit, but I finally found you could do it with the Telly. The old pickups, like from the 64, they was real monophonic. You hear people, they'll complain about the the Chinese and Japanese guitars. Oh, I'm getting new pickups because they're monophonics. Well, guess what? All the really cool old sounding guitars, all the pickups was monophonic. You could talk into them damn things and hear them out the amplifier. But that's where that tone came from, you know, from them kind of sounding pickups. Yeah, and what I'm trying to do. You guys are talking to each other too, and I'm trying not to throw them up. And I'm trying to get to the people talking to me. I get so confused on this, guys. You got to give me a break. Besides not having good eyesight, I'm old. Yeah, Telecasters. Them things will last. You know, last forever. You know, there's a lot of the old ones around. They look like hell, but they're still around. Oh, they'll pick up everything. You can hear all kinds of stuff on them. You know, CB radios, walkie-talkies. Yeah, Beck played Telecaster. Yeah, he did. Well, a lot of guys did. You know, if you look on my page, I've got a video dedicated just to Telecaster players. You know, and I talk about a lot of them. You know, Peter Townshend played one. Keith Richards played Tellys. Oh, you got to take off. Hornbeck, you take care of yourself. God bless you, man. I'll see you too. Peace. Yeah, I'm getting confused. It gets confusing. I need somebody here to run this when it gets crowded like this. I can't tell which one's which. I'm old. I'm sorry. I try to keep up, guys. You know I do. Just way too confusing for me. Oh, you know, I think everybody has, in the beginning, has played Telecasters, you know. I mean, I don't remember the Beatles playing them in the early years, but, you know, later on in the mid to late 60s, they started playing Tellys. You know, they was more Rickenbackers and Gretches in the early years. But a lot of the Britain, you know, and another thing too, I know George did buy a Fender of some kind, but they had trouble finding them over in England. You know, they was made here in the United States, and they didn't get too many of them over there. So when they did, they got bought up pretty quick. But yeah, they're good guitars. All right, let's talk. I'm going to change subjects. You guys go ahead and hang. I'm not ignoring you. I just got to pay attention to what I'm saying here because it's running a little bit behind. Oh, I wouldn't say that. But here we go. I'm going to take you back. I first went to Jamaica in 2009. Was my first trip there, and I was amazed at the place. You know, the people, the lifestyle, everything like that. And like I said, I went down there just to party and get away and have a big time. Well, I met a gentleman down there. I'm going to show you a picture of him. He worked for a tour. What these guys did, this guy's name is Reds, R-E-D-S. That's his name. That's all I've ever known him by. And I've been to Jamaica in 2009. I went 2010, 11. I've been to Jamaica about 7 times. I used to go all the time until I moved down here to Florida. Then I quit going. I used to go in February every year. Went every year in February. Anyway, I met Reds down there, and what they used to do, they had their vans, and they would sit out front of the hotels and take people on tours. That's the way they made their money. Well, the first year I didn't go on any tours or anything like that. I was pretty much having a good time at the resorts there. But the second year, I run into Reds again. He was sitting out there on a bench, drinking a cup of coffee, and I just started talking to him, and he said, you want to get some people together? He said, I'll cut you a good deal. He said, I'll take you all through in the grill, show you everything. I said, all right. So we got together, and he took us around, to Rick's Cafe, into downtown, to all the stores, shops, the lighthouses, and all kinds of stuff. And it was fun. It was okay. I enjoyed it. But I went back it was in 2014, and out there in front of the resort, there sat Reds in his van, and he said, "Hey, man, you want to take a trip?" I said, "Dude, I've seen everything in town. I don't want to see that no more." I said, but I asked him, I said, "You know what I'd really like to see?" He says, "What?" I said, "I'd really like to see what Jamaica really looks like." And I pointed up, I said, "Up on the mountains up there where all that pot comes from." He says, "Man," he said, "no problem." He said, "You get some people together." He goes, "I'll take you up there. I'll show you." He goes, "I'll even take you to my house. That's where I live up there." I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Okay." I said, "How much you need?" And he said, "Oh, I don't know." We dickered back and forth for a price. And anyway, I tried to get some other people. See, I knew people that went there. I went there with groups of people because we get group rates. And Reds told me, he said, "Well, see how many people you can get." Well, I couldn't get many people to go. They just didn't want to go up in the jungle up there and see things. And I kind of did. I'm one of them kind of people. I'm not big on tourist attractions, really. I don't really care for them. I've been coming to Florida and lived down here all my life, and I've been to Disney World exactly one time. And that's because my kids was little and they wanted to go. But anyway, so we got we had 6 or 7 people. And Reds charged us $10 a person, about $70. And we went on a trip. But first, here's where we stopped by. You have to remember down there, music down there, everything is reggae, okay? Everything is reggae. And I've heard songs, everything from Hank Williams' Jambalaya on the radio to Grand Funk, Some Kind of Wonderful, played in reggae music down there. Everything's reggae. And Bob Marley is the god down there. There's no doubt about it. And that statue was one of the coolest ones I've seen. Bob was actually from farther down there. I can't think of where the farther bay is down there. Kingston. He was down in the jungles down there, but you can go to his home and things like that. I didn't. It was too far away because I was in the grill, and that's on the west end of the island. But anyway, Rez decided to take us up this mountain, okay? And I'm going to show you what people live like up there. Something I don't think a lot of people realize is how simple people live, and you can't believe how happy these people are. They're always high. Yes, I will tell you this: everybody's stoned in Jamaica. On our way there, I think I got a picture somewhere of the place we stopped, and we went in, and you could buy a big bud of pot. It was still wet. Where they just break them off up there. They had old ladies in there. They're baking pot brownies. You could buy the brownies and stuff like that. Just on the side of the road there. But it was in. Let's see. No, that's the corner going around. That's the road. This is what the houses look like up there. This is on the mountains. Yeah, Jimmy Buffett lived. He had a place in Key West. He had a place in New Jersey, and he was originally from Pascagoula, Alabama, wasn't it? Down here on the Gulf. Yeah. No, Bob Marley lived there though. He was a god down there. Yeah, I'd like to have seen Marley. Hi, Tommy Huxley. Good to see you. Got to get back to my story, though. But anyway, we went on up there, and we're driving up the road, and we come up by, and there was this lady there. And she stopped and said, hi, and blah, 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 blah. And I'm looking, and I said to Reds, I said, what's she doing? He goes, she's washing clothes. I said, what do you mean she's washing clothes? And he pointed off back behind her there. There's a bunch of clotheslines back there. And that's a creek. They wash their clothes. These people, these people are way back there. They wash their clothes in the creek. They hang them on the line. They go back down. They get them and they fold them and they carry them back up the hill on their head. A lot of their houses don't even have running water. I mean, this is pretty crazy. There's another lady on the way. Was going on the way up. You can see the mountains in the back. She had a little baby hanging on her back and just walking up the road. And finally, I told Reds, I said, man, I'm getting kind of thirsty. We've been riding around for a couple of hours. He said, I'll take you to a bar. You want a beer? I said, yeah. I said, I'll take a beer, And all they have there is Red Stripe, really. And so Red says he'll drive us up on the hill on the way to, he's taking us to his mom's house is where he's taking us, okay? And he drives up and pulls up in front of this place right here. Now, I want you guys to look at that while I look for a few more pictures, okay? I got to do a few things here. I got to look for some of these pictures because some of these are personals and things like that. But that is the bar he took us to. Now, I'm going to tell you a story about this bar here in just a second. Give me time. I've got to look through these because I told you I had to kind of resize all these pictures. Okay? Now, that's the bar you're looking at. Well, Red says, well, go up and see if anybody's there. So somebody's taking pictures. There's somebody else there taking these pictures. I was just there. But here's a picture. I walked up and I look at the little guy and I said, hey, dude. I said, where do we get a drink? And he looks at me and he sticks out his hand. He shakes my hand and everything. And he runs around in the back there. Okay? And he goes and he finds this guy right here. And he comes running, walking out, okay? And he's saying, what do you want, man? What do you want to drink? Well, I just want to, cold beer would be nice. Okay? He says, all right. And he comes out and, I don't know, had 3 or 4 beers there. And they was open and there was foam running out of them. And I looked. They didn't even have a cooler. I'm serious as a heart attack. They had them sitting on the concrete floor in the shade. I'm telling you. And I said, all right. I said, what I owe you? He goes, I think there was 4 beers. They said $12. And I said, all right. I give him $12 for 4 hot beers. And I'm not from England. I don't like England and Ireland. I don't like hot beer. But I bought them anyway. These people are pretty nice and everything. And we did that. And I didn't drink it. And he says, man, you want something really good to drink? He stuck a bottle out there. Look at this stuff. This is the stuff they was drinking down there. Okay? It says Charlie's JB Overproof Rum. I don't know. I took a drink of that stuff, and I'm telling you what, I've drank 151 Bacardi. That stuff tasted like grain alcohol. There is no doubt about it. That stuff was just really, really strong. I don't know how they drank it. But anyway, they come out, and they was the nicest people. We sat there and talked to them, and just had a good time. And his mama come out. And if you want to look at something strange, look over to the left of this picture, and you see their house back there in the back. Look at the foundation there. All these foundations was put together. They're setting on rocks. They're setting on rocks. Their foundation. They just set on rocks. If the house gets a little out of kilter, they just stick like a 4x400 and lift it up and shove more rock under it or dig it down. You have to, this place, you have to understand how people live up there. Some of them don't even have electric. They don't have electric. They don't have running water. No, this is up on the mountain. This is probably 2,500 to 3,000 foot above the ocean in the grill and everything. They got little creeks and stuff, but not up there. Yeah, they drink it straight. Oh yeah, they'll drink it straight. I mean, these people, they're always stoned and they're always happy. Yeah. They use kerosene, they use candles, they just don't care. They go to bed when it gets dark. I mean, these people are really, they live totally different. But Tommy, this is up on the mountains, up above Negril on the west side of the island of Jamaica. These people, they're so different. Here's the house across the street. Look at this. Look down in the back there. That's the bathroom. Okay? And I asked the one guy, that one old guy that was sitting there, I asked him, I said, what your door's hanging off there. He goes, no problem on it. Works. You just stand it up when you go in there. And it's just hanging. They don't need very much there to be happy. That little boy, he was sitting there just playing with some sticks. He didn't have hardly any toys or nothing. They don't. I never see, the people are just amazing there. They have so little. Let me see if I can find any more pictures. They have so little, and they're so happy. There's a picture I got of the foundation of one of them houses. This is how they keep their foundation. You can see they got piers under them and concrete. Like this one's got concrete blocks under it. But look at the plates wore out, and they just stick a board on it, level their house up, and go on about the business. This was in I think this trip here I took was in 2014. So I would have been 56, maybe 57 when I went there. Exactly. They don't. That song, that Bobby McFerrin song, that song right there. These guys live that life, man. I'm telling you. I never seen people just so happy. And as I told you, Red said he was going to take us to his house. Okay, now, I'd only seen that guy once a year, maybe 3 or 4 times. And he said, I'll take you up to my house. Now, I'm explaining a culture to you because you got to believe this stuff. So Red drives up to this house and gets out, pulls up, and he hollers, Mama, Mama. And they came out. This is Red's. This is his mama. This is the way she come walking out of that house. She had an apron on. And that's his sister in behind there. And, I got a picture of him, but I got out and went up to shake her hand, and she just gave me a hug and patted me, and she says, "You having a good time here in Jamaica, man?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "We're having a real good time," and she said, Did Reds take you by a restaurant?" I said, "No, we haven't eaten." She goes, "I'm getting ready to fry fish. Would you like some fish?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, I'd like fish." I said, "If you're gonna, I don't want to put you out a bunch." "Oh, no problem, no problem. Oh, no, we'll fry some fish." This little old lady in this apron and stuff. Well, she went back in. Red said, "Come on, I'll walk you up to our house, our homestead." And I said, "What do you mean, Reds?" He said, "Well, this is our house now. This is mine. My mom, my sister lives here." But he said, "Our first house is down the road a little bit." So we all walked down that way. Now, I want you to look at this house. That house, this was in 2014. That house was built in 1957. We live in houses now that was built in 1957. But you must understand, these people, they don't think about vinyl siding, or they use tin for their roofs and things like that. So anyway, we're down there, look at this, and I go, "Great." And he said, and I'm not going to put these pictures up. He allowed me to take some pictures, but I'm not going to put them up just out of respect for the guy. But he took me around to the side there, and over there was buried his dad, his grandma and granddad, his great-grandparents, aunts and uncles. And I go, "You mean your family cemetery's here, Reds?" He goes, "Oh, yeah." I go, "That's pretty wild." I said, he said, "We just moved the house. We built this house here. That we're in now." I think he said they built that in like 2002. He said, "Here in Jamaica, we don't sell our ground. It passes down from family to family. Nobody here sells their property. We pass it down from family to family to family." That's why all of his ancestors are buried up there. I mean, they had a whole cemetery up there, for God's sake. And I'm sitting there going, wow. And I looked at the house, and there's right above the door there, it says 1957 on it. And that's the year I was born. So that house back then wasn't even 60 years old, but it fell down. They just leave it there and they use it. I mean, I don't think I got any pictures of the animals, the farm animals and stuff like that there, that was there. Let me look real quick. But they own all this property, and if you turn around from that house, this is the view. That's what you see from the side, from the front of that house. That's what it looks like out across there. These people are totally different, and yeah, it's very different. Yeah, they keep their homes, they keep their ground. Everything is very family oriented. Now remember, this is away from the culture down in the cities. Down in the cities, but this is up in the mountains where he took me. I mean, these guys, they got great big huge pot plants growing in their backyard. I mean, these damn things has got 2-foot buds on the top of them. But it's so much different. I was totally amazed. And we went back, and like I said, Red's mama there, she had fried fish and come bringing it out on a plate, and she didn't have paper towels, she had napkins there. And she just handed us a napkin and said, "Here, just go ahead." And she set it out there on the porch. And we sat there with picking up this fish and eating it and everything. Red was sitting there eating it. And he said, "Mama, you got something to drink?" And she said, "Yeah." And she come out. I mean, this was really old-fashioned stuff. She come out with a big pitcher of grapefruit juice. And brought it out and everybody, and she had glasses and stuff, and this, then I'm sitting there, and there was some girls with us too, and they offered to clean. Oh, no, don't you worry about that. I got this. I'm happy to do this for you. I'm really happy. They were just some of the nicest people, and this just isn't these people. It was everybody that I met up there on that mountain. Was different. This is let's see. And then coming back down the road here, this was the asphalt. Back on the asphalt, this is they're out there working. They're cutting bamboo or whatever that stuff is, and Clint, the guy's got a machete in his hand, and things like that. What it did, I guess what I'm trying to say is what it did for me. It made me, I come back a different person that year. I used to think, I seen how them people lived and they was happy. And I mean, I was going back home busting my ass, 2 cars, house payment, all this kind of stuff, and buying this and buying that and everything. And I'm going, sometimes I look at myself even today, I got more guitars than I need. And I look at these people and I find out, they're a lot more happier than I am. They're really happy. They don't need a lot, to be happy. Sure, they like money. I mean, and they work. Like I said, the American dollar when I was there was equal to almost $19 in Jamaican money. So if you give them $10, that's a lot of money. For them to spend. They make a lot of money off of tourists, and Red said that. Speaking of that, let's see if I can find a few more, and then I'll quit, and then you guys can talk. In Jamaica, that's what the coast looks like in Jamaica. There's not a lot of beautiful sandy beaches. It's all rocky and things like that. It really is. But this is what the water looks like there all the time. All the time. It's just crystal blue, like bluish green, like kind of like the on the Gulf of Mexico. Like I got some videos. I don't have them now. I don't have them in this folder. I'm trying to see what I got here. I only wanted to get a couple of them. But anyway, here's how they make money. We were standing up there, and this guy comes up, and he just walks up there on a thing, and he waves his hand. He goes, "Hey, man, you want to see me jump?" And we're all standing there. "Sure, yeah, go ahead. I dare you." Well, this cat takes off, and let's see if I can find it. And he jumps. he jumps into off that damn cliff down there, and I'm still trying to keep these things lined up. He jumped off that cliff, and then landed in the water down there. You can see that, there's all kinds of rocks and crap down there. I got a video of this cat doing this. And so he climbed back up this ladder and walked over and he goes, "You like that, man?" I said, "Yeah, that was great." He goes, "How much was it worth to you?" And I laughed. that's the way they make their money, you know. So we all reached in, you know, we was on vacation, reached in, give him some money, and he was happy as could be, you know. It was pretty amazing. It's an amazing place. And like I said, I've wrote a couple of songs about Jamaica. Here's probably a cool picture of the water. And this is the cove at Rick's Cafe. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it's a very big, well-known place in the grill. And that's the cove the guys jumping. They want $20, and I don't know if I got a picture of where they jump from. It's like cliff diving where they jump from. They got a thing built up there. Let's see if I got something. Yeah, I do. Believe it or not, I do. Here's what they jump off of there. If you can see that little thing with the flag, they'll climb up there and they will jump and they will dive off into this thing. And there's people down there that gets drunk and jumps off in there and things like that. But that's the way they that's their lives down there. You know, it's pretty much. I'm not saying they don't. You know, they have shops and stuff like, you know, there's some of the shops you'll see all along the road down there. Oh, the water's just beautiful, Sherry. I mean, I've never seen anything quite like it, really. That's why I fell in love with the place. I fell in love with the place and the people and things like that. You know, let's see. I'm trying to find the place that sold the pot on the side of the road, but I can't find it. There's some more stores. This is what they look like down there. You know, it's really it's a very interesting place. If you ever get a chance to visit, although, like I said, now travel expenses is so high, and it's pretty much. But like when you eat there, you know, all of the food there. There's hardly anything imported there. Like even in the restaurants, you know. Here's some of the food at the restaurant. There you go. They just brought it out, and they'll carve that thing up in front of you and give it to you. You know, I assure you, there's no government checking, and there's no steroids or anything in these animals. Their vegetables are all grown there. They do everything themselves there. So it's a pretty interesting place to go. And it makes you come back. You know, it made me come back and really realize, you know, I'm never going to cry poor mouth again. Yeah. You know, these people down, but they're so happy. That's the amazing thing about it. They really are. But down around the resorts, it's a different atmosphere, if you know what I mean. Let's see. Do I have anything else to show you? Yes. Remember the song that I played for you? What was? I played you that song that I wrote and I recorded called Rum Queen. Well, I wrote it about a gal that I met down there. And, you know, I just made up some of the words and some of the things, but the gal I wrote it about is very true. And I got a picture of her here, and I'm going to show it to you. And this is the gal that inspired the song Rum Queen. That is her. Her name was Jolie, Jollie, Jolie. But that was her. She inspired the song that song that I wrote. If you haven't heard it, you'll get to hear it again sometimes. But she's the girl of my dream, and she could drink rum. Trust me. Something else, eh? But that's Jamaica in a nutshell. a very laid back place. People are always high. You know, you get off the airplane and you get out back there. You get through customs, and there's a bar right there, and you get you a beer and you look around. They got these little different shuttle buses, and in Jamaica they drive on the opposite side like they do in England. They drive on the left side. I remember the first time I was there. I got on the bus and I looked at the guy and he's sitting there in the driver's seat and I go, "You going to get me to the grill?" He goes, he looks up at me, and this guy, honest to God, you could have blindfolded him with dental floss. His eyes, was just kind of squinted together. He goes, "No problem, man. I drive this all the time." He get off, we take off, and I'm sitting there, I'm a nervous wreck. I mean, this guy, some of these corners on these roads, there's no guardrails and shit, and it's down to the water, and they're passing cars, and it's on the wrong side. From then on, I learned I got in one of the jumper seats that faced backwards, and I get me 2 beers for the trip. And I just sat there and drink. I wouldn't even watch, but it was a blast. It's a great country to visit, and we think we're poor here and stuff like that, and we don't do this and we don't do that. I don't even think they have any kind of retirement funds down there for people and things like that. They just take care. They take care of themselves as they get old. The young ones take care of the old ones. Now this is up on the mountain. I mean, the real people up there. Like I said, when that hurricane came through last year, that's the people I thought of on that mountain up there, because that thing blew the hell out of them houses. But they're the kind of people, they'll just put them back together. It didn't even bother them to be without electric because they probably didn't even have it. But it was an amazing place, and I got a lot of memories from there, and I got quite a few songs that I wrote about that place. It really inspired me. That's the whole thing. They take care of their own up there on the mountains. They really do. I'm kind of guessing maybe up there they're kind of like the people in the United States that live in the back hills of Kentucky and Tennessee and North Carolina and stuff. They pretty much, although, the government moves in on that, they don't have a government that bothers them up there. Like I said, one resort I stayed at down there, you could walk down the beach. It was about 3/4 of a mile, and Margaritaville was down there. Okay, Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville in the grill. So we'd walk down there, a bunch of us. We'd walk down there for lunch and stuff, and have lunch there, have a few drinks, and hang out. And I remember one day we was walking back, and there was 2 guys on the beach. I got a picture of them somewhere. They was playing a guitar, and this other guy just had like a shaker thing. And he was walking down the beach, and they was singing that song, "Oh, don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing gonna be all right." And this guy's beating this old guitar, and they're just walking around there singing on the beach, and people would come up to him and give him a few dollars and stuff like that. We get a little farther down the beach, and here comes this one guy. And, I mean, he had dreadlocks, all the way down to his waist. And you could tell the guy was just totally stoned out of his mind. And as I start walking by him, he looks at me and goes, "Hey, man, you need smoke? You want smoke?" And I go, "No, man, I don't need no smoke." He said, "Huh?" And he pulls out of his pocket, and he's got like 2 or 3 packs of Marlboros, and he's got this huge sack of pot, man. And he goes, "Smoke?" He goes, good price. He goes, "Cigarettes. I give you the cigarettes for $7. Now, remember, when you get down there, American cigarettes are like, back then was $12, $13 in a machine. You pay out the butt for American stuff down there. If they have to, anything they have to ship in, you're going to pay out the butt for. But the pot, they would sell, they would sell a cola bud about, 1.5 foot long. That thing would be that big around. You could end up getting them for $25, I guess. But most people, never buy nothing. Don't never buy when they try to sell to you at the airport. Get to your resort. Don't buy at the airport. They try to sell it to you there at the airport too, but you don't want to do that. Get to your resort, and the first thing you want to do is go through all the drawers and go to the clothes closet and look up in the top up there and reach your hand up there and feel around. I don't know how much pot we had found where people would buy it, and they'd smoke and they'd have they'd have so much left, they just throw it up in the closet for somebody else or leave it in the drawer because they didn't want to take, because you have to get through customs and everything, and it was all different. Like I said, the guy walking down the beach just selling, big cola buds of pot and cigarettes. Smoke? You want some smoke, man? There was some construction workers across the street. We was at this one place called Sandals. And across the street, they was building like this 3-story building, and these guys were up there working. Well, I kind of like construction and stuff myself, so I just kind of walked over there one day around noon just to look around and watch what they were building, how they was building and everything. And these guys come down, they're walking on, walking on the cross beams and stuff like that, and they come climbing down, they get down. I said, "Now eating lunch?" Well, I walked over and talked to them, because people down there will talk to you, and you feel no racial tension whatsoever, or I didn't. And I said, I started asking them about the building. Oh, no, this, that, and the other. And I said, "I'm not bothering you." "Oh, no, we're just having lunch. Sit down, man. Sit down. Sit down with us." And they pull out, and this guy pulls out his lunch, and he pulled out a banana, and he starts eating this banana, and he's drinking a jar of fruit juice. And he eats this banana, and then he pulls out an apple, and he starts eating that, and he's drinking this fruit juice. Then he reaches in there, and he pulls out this big sack of pot, and he starts rolling joints. And I don't mean little joints. I mean, this guy's rolling, these huge torpedoes. And he fires one up and hands one over to there's like 3 or 4 of these workers there, and they're sitting there just huffing away. "Here, man, you want to smoke?" No, it's all right, man. And they're doing this, smoking this pot. And then they went back to work, and the guys are up like 2 or 3 stories walking around up there. I couldn't believe it. And they're just, pot's just part of the culture there. It's part of the culture. It really is. It's cool. If you ever get a chance to visit it, back then when I would go, 2 people could go and fly down out of St. Louis, and you could stay for 8 days and 7 nights. Fly in on Saturday and fly back home on Saturday. And at that time, we did it. I think the first time I went in 2009, I think we did 2 people, was about $1,700 total. That's airfare, place to stay, all your food and all your drinks free. Everything was free. You could tip, but you actually wasn't even supposed to tip at the resorts. But we did, because everything was paid for. I think the first time I went down there, I just took $300 with me. And you can buy stuff filthy cheap down there, the stuff they make and everything. I got all kinds of stuff around here. I got hats. Let me see. I got some lady was just sitting there embroidering these hats, or she was. It's not crochet. Had 2 knitting needles. She was making them. I bought that one for $5. I've had it for years. Pretty cool hat. Yeah. 3 little birds perched by my doorstep, singing sweet songs, melody pure and true. But yeah, if you get a chance to visit, it's a lot more expensive. It's probably twice that now. After COVID, the prices really went up. I haven't been, like I said, since 2000 and I think the last time I went was 2016 or 2017. Yeah, it was 2016 because I moved down here in 2017. Yeah, because I've been here 9 years now. So I haven't gone. I'm down here. I can go to the water anytime I want, you know. And if I kind of want to have a big time or something, you know, I can always go down to Key West. That's probably as close as you'll get to the Jamaican style, except, you know, Jamaica is still kind of government controlled and it takes a lot of money to live there. It's a great place. Guys, I probably didn't see a lot of your comments. If you want to put some up, if you got any questions or anything like that, go ahead. I'll try to answer them. Ask me anything. And we'll hang out for another 10 minutes or so, and then I got to run. Yeah, these guys live in the world of stoned. That's a fact. Oh, everybody. Even the old ladies, you know, Red's mom, I bet she smoked pot. I didn't see her, but I'll bet she did. You know, that little old lady. They just do. It's just a way of life down there. Drink rum and smoke pot. You know, get up, live your life, don't bother other people, and you probably, like I said, you know, Red's his mom and all them people up there, they'll die in the house or on the property that they was born on. It's really, really different. No problem, man. Jamaica's a cool place. I could have went a lot of other, you know, I could have went on different vacations every year if I wanted, different places. And I always wanted to go back to Jamaica. I loved it there. If I would ever leave the United States, I'd go to Jamaica. I'd live there. And they will actually, Jamaican government, if you move down there, if you'll build a house, they'll give you the ground for free. They give you the ground. And they'll do it in town. They'll give you, like, you know, you can go right into town. And I mean, there's some beautiful homes down there too. Don't get me wrong. You know, I just showed you what's up on the mountain. That's away from everybody. You know, that's where all the good pot comes from and all the cool people come from that come down into town to work. But the Jamaican government will give people, like, you can still, like, homestead land there. You know, but like I said, they don't count on anybody for nothing. That's why I was so happy, though, to see the United States and Cuba and some other people getting airplanes and airlifting food and supplies after that hurricane. I can't think of the name of it that came through last year. It was the only bad one, and that Cat 5 just took a turn and cut right through, the middle of the mountains and everything, and it tore things up. And they got up there. I don't think many people died, though. They're used to hurricanes. They just happen down there. It's a way of life, and they deal with it, and they'll go on. They'll rebuild, and it's not a big problem, man. You know, it comes with the territory. I know very few Jamaican people that live anywhere besides Jamaica. I've met a few up in the Northeast, up toward New York and stuff, and I've met a few Jamaicans down here. There was a gal. I had some kidney stone issues, and I had to go to the hospital. And my nurse was from Jamaica, and you can imagine we had a good time talking about it. It does. In a way, it does, MG. Like I said, I love America. There's no doubt about it. But, you know, as they say, freedom isn't free. And but their freedom is probably a lot closer to free down in Jamaica than it is here. But they don't have near like the health care that we have here. They don't have that down there. You know, they they don't drive. A lot of them don't drive new cars and things like that. Like I said, the little things make them people happy. You know, and like I said, I never met anybody down there that was really an asshole. Now, I did stop in, went through some towns, and I seen some pretty shady characters stand out there. But again, they just high. They're stoned. Oh, you're talking about Jolie? Yeah, yeah. She's a Jamaican queen. There's a lot of beautiful women down there too. Yeah, I did. Right. Well, here's the thing. Happiness is a state of mind. It really is. You wake up in the morning, you can decide if you're going to be happy or if you're not. It's up to you. You can either find things to be happy about or you can find things to be sad about. You can find things that are, feel so good, and you can find things that'll just stress the hell out of you. It's what you look for, it's what you see. It's all in perception, how you perceive your life. I mean, I can wake up in the morning and be thankful, for the things that I got, or I can be depressed for the things I don't have. I choose to look at things 99% of the time, especially now. Like I said, I changed my attitude a lot. I'm happy. Life's good. I get pissed off sometimes. I get an attitude. Things don't go right. You work hard. You try to do things right, and you try to do this, and something screws you. But it don't last long anymore. It don't. I usually get out of my bad moods really quick because I can always find something good about it. Yeah, the hospitals and doctors, they're there. And I'm sure they have some good ones there, but I don't think they're they're not going to be what you have here in the United States. And I would think I don't think you need the amount of money to retire there that you would here. Like I said, the difference was like $1 to almost 19 of their dollars. But again, you'd have to be satisfied with a lot less than what you have here. Like Red's, his van, it was a decent van and everything, but he didn't have power windows or a GPS or any of this stuff. He did have a cell phone. And that's one thing I did see on that mountain. The only thing I seen that showed me that there was civilization up there. I did see a cell tower up on that mountain. Yeah, I would say they're happier and healthier. But they find happiness in real simple things. I'm not saying that you have to be that way. But it is pretty nice. It's taught me, I can come down here to Florida, and I can look, and see palm trees and things like that. And remember when I used to live up north, and it was cold and snowing, and I can be pretty much happy just seeing a palm tree and think, I'm not ever going to have to shovel snow again. I don't have to deal with that kind of weather and stuff. And it's because of decisions and changes I made in my life. And a lot of people have trouble doing that. The hard part is you have to close one chapter to open a new one. To come down here, I gave up a lot too. I moved away from my kids and my grandkids, but it's what I always wanted to do. And I still see my kids and grandkids once in a while. It's not as often, but I still see them. I still keep in touch. They still get birthday cards and they still get Christmas presents and this, that, and the other. But I worked really hard a lot of my life, and saved my money and did what I planned on doing all my life. I always wanted to live down by the water and by the ocean. And I always lived close to the water, even up when I was living up in St. Louis and Missouri and Illinois. I lived right by the Mississippi River almost, up on the bluff. I didn't live down in the flats. I knew better than that. I seen the flood of '93, and that scared the hell out of me. People talks about hurricanes. I've been through hurricane and tornadoes, and I am way more scared of a tornado than I am a hurricane. I fear them a whole lot more. They're a lot more destructive and dangerous in their path. I'm not saying hurricanes aren't, but you have to be close to the water to really, really receive some severe, dangerous, life-threatening damage. Most of the deaths you hear from hurricanes come from floodwaters. And even where I live now, I'm probably 3/4 of a mile from the Gulf. But it is. That's exactly it, Kenny. It's a state of mind. You don't have to have a lot to be happy. You really don't. It don't take a lot of. I mean, the thing is, it's hard in this day and age, even here, because it takes so much money just to live. Like well, Ken, like we talked before. I mean, my electric bill down here is never less than $250 a month, and it's usually $300 or more. And sometimes it runs higher in the winter because the electric furnaces cost a lot more to run than air conditioning. But it's expensive, anymore. Them people up there, they don't have electric or anything like that. And I mean, the ones that do, they're probably very conservative with it. It don't bother them not to use it. It don't bother them. I mean, it don't bother them to go to an outhouse. I don't know. I like my indoor bathroom. So could I be happy like that? I don't know. It's a state of mind. But I like having my indoor flush toilet. I like having a GPS in my car so I don't get lost. I like old nostalgic things. I like living in the past. People said, "Would you like to go back to 1976?" And I go, "Yeah, I would, in a way, but I wouldn't want to give up. What would you want to give up? Would you want to give up your GPS? Would you want to give up your computers, your cell phone, all of the things that changes? No, I don't think I would." I don't think I'd want to give it up. I sure don't. But anyway, guys and dolls, I would want to thank you all for spending an hour and 23 minutes and 37 seconds so far. You spent it with me, and I definitely appreciate it. I enjoy the Sunday nights. I'm glad you was here. We had a nice crowd of people in here. When it starts getting to where I can't keep up with the comments, it's there's a lot of people here, and I had trouble with that. Glad you enjoyed it, man. I did too. I'm always glad and grateful you guys are here. I got some things to work with and some things to do this week, but everything looks fine. Thank you, Melissa Jennifer Jones, for coming in. Sherry Keller, Ken's Woodworking, MG Cole. I'm trying to get everybody and remember. I can't do it, though. I just get so bad. Kenna was here tonight. Dwayne's new lady. Florida man, of course. I just seen you. Just talked to you. Tommy Huxley. Trying to look back and see. Doug Riddle. That was a new name on me. Just checking in. Unless I'm sure he's been in before, but I probably don't remember. Sometimes, like I said, the names just scroll by so quick. Jerry McCoy was here earlier. That's right. Hornback was here earlier. Hornback always comes by. He always leaves early, though. He's got things going on. But he always stops in and says hi. Marty Martin was here. Yep. Jeffro stopped in for a minute. Yep. I don't know. God, like I said, I can't keep up with all of it. It's too much anymore. We've got too many people, but I appreciate, as I said, each and every one of you. And I will see you again next Sunday night. Until then, God bless you. The angels bless you. Whoever you want, bless you. Take care of yourselves and be kind to each other and be kind to yourself. And I'll see